Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the Toronto Raptors. It is officially All-Star break for them, along with pretty much every team by the time this video drops. They're sitting at 28-31. They are the 9th seed in the East. Jakob Poeltl just had a 30-piece with Sauce, and they've also won 5 of their last 6 basketball games. And to be quite honest with you, it feels very reminiscent to me of last season. Like, very reminiscent of last season. Now, I feel like there's a common misconception around the league, not only the NBA actually, around just every single sporting league out there, that championship rosters are built in one season. It's as simple as that doesn't happen. Now, when the Raptors decided to trade for Jakob Poeltl, getting rid of some draft assets along with Khem Birch, it was, to me, an A-plus trade. Like, quite literally, on paper and with the eye test, 30 points or not, that is a A-plus trade from the Toronto Raptors because their intention is very clear. We want to win now, and we want to win in the future. And so what we're going to do is we're going to re-sign Jakob Poeltl. We're going to let the free agent situation all that stuff will be figured out come season's end. That's not at the top of the worry list right now. But we're going to do something that we should have done 2 years ago, or for the at least last 2 seasons, and we're going to acquire a center. And by acquiring a center, I don't mean in no disrespect to Khem Birch. We're going to acquire an all-star center in Jakob Poeltl, which is something we've literally been talking about for like 2 years now, a move that the Raptors should make. To me, it's as clear as day. They plan on extending him. They plan on bringing him back next season. Now, if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, yes, there are going to be some decisions, you know, whether it's Fred, whether it's Gary, whether it's OG, whatever the case is. Yes, there are some decisions that need to be made with the Toronto Raptors in the offseason, but considering the All-Star break is tomorrow, we'll figure that out at a later time. We'll figure that out in the offseason because, yes, you might lose some pieces, but still, I have full faith that Toronto has no intentions, no plans on rebuilding. You have your most likely franchise player in Scottie Barnes. You have your all-star studs, your all-NBA-esque players in Pascal Siakam, along with Freddie Double V, along, honestly, with Jakob Poeltl. So, I don't know, man. I really like this Raptors team, and we're going to talk about that today. So before we do, hit that like button, hit that sub button if you enjoy daily NBA content. We're getting back into making Raptors videos, but man, I don't know. This is something I talked about in my Raps video from just post-deadline, was like, there's so much negativity going on, and it's not just Raptors fans. I don't mean it's just Raptors fans, because from what I've seen, the narrative is Jakob Poeltl, let's go. Let's go. Now, I think a lot of content creators with Toronto is like, what the heck did we just do? Why would we make that move? We need to rebuild for a year, retool for a season, like the Scottie Barnes year, and just kind of configure all this out. I have a different methodology from it. I really loved the Jakob Poeltl move. I think if this trade was done last year, like, the NBA world would break. Because Jakob Poeltl is extremely underrated in general, and now he's a Toronto Raptor. What did we see? What was this game? I think it was last night against, we don't have dates here on this, a day or two ago against the Orlando Magic. Jakob Poeltl, here is the stat line, 15-17. So it's not like he just had 30 points. He shot 15-17 from the field. He had 9 total rebounds. He had a steal. He had 6 blocks. He only had 2 turnovers. He had 5 offensive rebounds, which is just something that Toronto desperately needed. Like, if we take a look at the stat sheet, which we have here, I don't think rebounding was that big of a dire issue as far as total rebounding. Yeah, 17th in total rebounding. They're 4th in offensive rebounds, but they're dead last in defensive rebounds. So if you take statistics, just, you know, cut and dry, black and white, it's like, okay, I don't really know what to make of that list. Well, Toronto in general, even though they are number 5th in total blocks a game, they needed a big man, a reliable big man, like a rim-protecting big man who can score and he can rebound. And once again, all love to Ken Burge, because when that move first happened, I was a very big Ken Burge supporter. I still am a Ken Burge supporter, but the move didn't work out necessarily as I planned out, whatever, it doesn't matter. I love the ascension of Precious Achiuwa, okay? I love Chris Boucher kind of coming off the bench as your 6th, 7th-ish player. I love it, all right? I love Siakam at the 5. I love some small ball Scotty at the 5, but let's be real here. I know the Raptors need guard help. I know the Raps need guard depth, but if I have a healthy Fred, if I have a healthy Gary, and if I have a healthy OG, along with Jakob out there, it should be an improvement from last season, which I will still continue. We just got an Amber Alert. Hopefully everything's okay. Anyways, I will still argue the point, though, that Freddie Double V, Gary Trent Jr., and Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Siakam, Jakob Poeltl, that is still a legitimate top 6 undisputed playoff team, in my opinion. Like, it's hard to argue that. I don't think there's an argument out there for it. And when we look at this Raptors team specifically in the second half last year, like, you know, around the trade deadline when they acquired Thaddeus Young, that people were, you know, questioning heavily. It's like, what move did they just make? Why did they give up a first-round draft pick? And then they end up acquiring Thaddeus Young on a multi-year contract along with drafting Christian Koloko. It was like, okay, that wasn't the worst move in the world. They go out there, they acquire Otto Porter Jr. from the defending champions in the Golden State Warriors, and it doesn't work out at all. In fact, it was a complete swing and miss, and it was a complete F grade. That was an F. It was a complete and total failure with a capital F. But the thing is, he got injured. He just got injured. So you can't chalk that up to the Raptors. You can't chalk that up to Otto. You can't chalk that up to the management, to the coaching staff, whatever it is. It's just the way she goes sometimes. It's just the way she goes. So I look at last year's Raptors team, which wasn't as good as this year's Raptors team, and I'm thinking, this is the squad that kind of almost, or at least they had a good shot at taking down Philadelphia, had a couple of things gone differently, had Siakam not averaged 40 minutes a night, had Freddie not averaged 40 minutes a night and injured his hamstring. Like, these are still very much concerning because Siakam on the year is averaging 38 minutes. Freddie is averaging 37 minutes. OG's averaging 36. And Scotty and Gary, you know, I guess the last 3 were a little bit healthier, but just the more depth, the better is the point. The more depth, the better. Precious Achiuwa is back. He's been back for, what, a couple of months now, or, you know, 4 to 6 weeks. Precious has been back. He's a huge depth piece that often goes overlooked. We saw Malachi Flynn. We have his stats here from the Magic game. Now, I remember making a ton of Raptors videos last season and being like, is this, all right, is this the time here? Like Malachi, for example, a couple of nights ago against Orlando, 13 minutes, but he had 10 points, shot 3 or 4 from the field, 2 or 3 from downtown. You know, it just seems like a really long, constant cycle of like, could this be the time? At the end of the day, though, Toronto's a really solid team at home. Turnovers are and have been a thorn. Rebounding's been a thorn. Shooting's been a thorn. It's going to be really interesting to see what their official starting lineup looks like, because if your lineup is Freddie, Jakob, Scotty, Precious, and Siakam a couple of nights ago, although the caveats to that are OG's injured and's been injured for a while, and Gary Trent also missed that game. So if you roll with, I mean, I don't think Precious will be starting, no disrespect to Precious, so let's just say OG, let's throw OG in there. Well, if our starting lineup is going to be Freddie, Jakob, Scotty, OG, and Siakam, it's not the worst floor spacing, but that's still a big question mark, is total floor spacing for the Raptors. You know, but at the same time, if you throw in Gary, it's like, all right, well, I just named 5 actual starters in the league. Who's going to be coming off of the bench? It seems like a decent answer for better spacing would be Scotty Barnes. But at the same time, the way Scotty's been playing, he's averaging 16.7 rebounds, 5 assists on the season. Yeah, the three-pointer isn't quite there yet, but I mean, specifically the last couple of months, he's really been improving his play as a scorer and as a facilitator. But it's just, I don't know what's going to happen. So it's going to be the point is, it's going to be an interesting second half for the Toronto Raptors. And we're ready to cover it here and on my show. The link's going to be in the bio. It's going to be pinned in the comments if you ever want to come by and chat rap content along with NBA videos. That's it. Hit the like button, hit the sub button. I'll catch you guys later.